The information discussed on Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell is believed to be from reliable sources. However, no responsibility is assumed for inaccuracies. No statement made on this broadcast should be construed as a specific recommendation of a particular investment product. Views expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent those of CBS Radio. Use only as directed.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles. And prepare yourself for...
Show me the money!
Ladies and gentlemen, the radio broadcast experience designed to keep your wallet in top condition. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Talkin' money. Talkin' money.
More money, more money, more money.
And now entering the studio, your guru for fiscal fitness, Jeff Tarbell.
Yeah, that's me. How you doing?
What's happening?
I had a donut for the first time in like a long time. I'm probably going to be like, this show will be over in 8 minutes.
You'll be all jacked up?
Yeah, I'll be all jacked up.
One and done?
I'm already jacked up. How you doing, Jack? I'm back. You were here last week.
I was.
Where was it? Oh, yeah, it was house. Yeah, we were out last week.
You were out.
And Vince was in. How'd Vince do?
Vince was great.
Yeah?
He was all fired up.
Yeah, well, he's got a little. He's only done this for a few thousand times.
I was going to say he's got a little bit of experience for sure.
So appreciate Vince Mastrocco coming back in and covering for me. And he said, hey, if you got to go somewhere again, I'll be happy to do that. So we'll have him come back because he had a good time. And we have a good time having him here. And I'm sure those of you that are used to listening to Vince, probably good to hear his voice again. And actually sent him a client yesterday who was looking for a home, and Vince does that's his primary job at Lion. So had a buyer needed a realtor and sent him down to Vince. So hope that works out good for him or
Very
well
nice.
for him. Good or well, I'm not sure which it is there. Good for you, well for me. We start every Saturday the same way with a complete and utter risk, violating every CBS code. I've had to sign 4 sheets of paper saying I won't do it, but I still do it. We put on the big boy. I didn't see your what shirt are you wearing there today? You got anything special on there?
It's my Average Joe's Gym.
Oh yeah, okay. And by the way, I am working on getting all three of us the new.
Does this have something to do with working out?
No. Hell
okay,
no.
I was going to say I'm out.
I'm gonna get us all this shirt. You want one?
Nice, yeah.
You want a 2XL?
I'm getting season tickets for that.
Oh yeah,
they're going on sale. The Sacramento Republic.
Yeah.
I think it's a $25 deposit.
Yeah, and
which is awesome.
Yeah, you could swing that, huh?
Yeah, that's only 5 hours of work.
And you're getting season tickets for what? There isn't a season yet. But you want
next year.
Okay, for the on interest list. Huh?
Yeah, I'll be in the supporter section, screaming, yelling.
All right. Well, I'm working. I told Warren, I said, I got to get a couple shirts when you get back. So he's going to actually come on in 2 weeks, just kind of give us a little recap of how that worked out and what's going on. But anyway, I cut into Chris's time. Go ahead, Chris. What's on your mind there?
First, I got to say I love the Talkin' Money beer koozie. That's awesome.
I put that in there. So, by the way, anybody who calls today, and for now on until I run out, if you get a pair of tickets to River Cats, whatever, I will send you, as Chris has mentioned, the aforementioned beer koozie, the Talkin' Money beer koozie. So we'll be sending those out.
Isn't it bad luck not to give it with a beer?
Well, I drank the beer.
Oh, okay.
So sorry about that, but anyway.
Anyways, I have to talk about, besides one of my favorite things to talk about, my second favorite things, hating on the New York Yankees and specifically Alex Rodriguez. This guy's self-awareness is just about as bad as Anthony Weiner's right now. He has no idea what he's doing. The best thing for him to do is just shut up and go away, but he continues on saying, I'm going to fight this. They don't have anything on me. I mean, I don't know what it is that once you become super megastar in baseball, you just say, like, I could do whatever, no one's going to catch me, and then you start to believe your own lies. First started with Barry Bonds, then Roger Clemens, now it's Alex Rodriguez. But except for Alex Rodriguez, he is in the middle of all this paranoia, PEDs, everyone's checking, everyone's waiting to take someone big down, and it looks like he's finally going to be taken down. And I don't see him getting less than this year and next year. That's like perfect situation for him. He's gone for a year and a half.
And doesn't his own team want him? They don't even want him back, right?
They owe him about $100 million.
Yeah.
38-year-old, $100 million.
Yeah, so they want to, maybe they'll ban him for life and they'll save $100 million. Huh?
See, but as a Red Sox fan, I'm hoping that he does come back and they have to just keep on paying him.
Okay, gotcha. Now, I have a quiz for you. Don't turn your microphone off yet. This is a There's no other good place because I'm going to quiz you. So I saw that. So Donovan McNabb, they retired his jersey this week.
Yes.
You saw that. Okay. So there's an interesting little survey, or not a survey, but a summary in the Wall Street Journal about teams that have retired jerseys. So that what they did is they did a comparison. And they started with McNabb. How many jerseys do the Eagles have they retired? And how many titles does that company have, or does that team have? So you'd think if they have a bunch of jerseys in the banner, I always think of the Boston Celtics, they have all these jerseys retired because they were just incredibly successful for so many years. So they did a little survey of the different sports and said, okay, well, there must be a correlation, right, to the number of retired jerseys to the number of titles. So, Chris, I'll give you the on-the-spot quiz. So the Philadelphia Eagles, including the one for McNabb they just retired, they have 9 retired jerseys. And they have 3 NFL titles. Okay.
Yes.
So in the NFL, they're third on the list, and being number one on the list is not good. So you should theoretically have a lot more. So give me one of the 2 teams above them, most retired jerseys and least amount of
championships.
Yeah, and one of them was a shocker.
Oh man.
I'd say the one right above it, they have 12 retired numbers and they had 5 titles, if that helps in NFL.
Is that the 49ers?
Yeah.
Huh.
The 49ers were number 2 on the list, and then the one above it, they have 10 retired numbers and only 2 titles.
Is that the Raiders?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's one of our famous 49ers went to this team.
So that's got to be
KC.
Okay, gotcha. I'm thinking Jerry Rice.
Yeah. So Kansas City has the least number of titles for the most number of retired jerseys. So it's pretty interesting. And I'll just read you off quickly. Baseball, the Astros have 0 titles and 9 retired numbers. The Portland Trailblazers have 1 title and 10 retired numbers, and the Buffalo Sabres of the NHL have 6 retired jerseys and no titles. So there's your top four sports. You can always find something obscure with numbers in sports if you try. So, but I would never have guessed the Niners because they're like they have all kinds of titles.
Basically, that whole '80s team got their
got their jerseys retired, right? They're looking at the differential. So there you go. And this is the part that just is sad. Speaking of numbers. The number of America's Cup races contested so far by more than one team. There's been 13 races as of this date of this paper, and only 4 of them had at least another member to race against. So that means 9 of the races there was by themselves racing around timing, and the America's Cup has become a disaster.
I was going to say,
there. Yeah, it's an utter disaster. 0 teams expected to compete in Tuesday's scheduled race.
Nice.
We should go out there with like a little laser sailboat. Yeah, we
win the America's Cup.
First place.
Victory.
Get off the course, you losers.
Start throwing out beer koozies.
Yeah, that's right. You get all Talkin Muzzy beer koozies. So we've got an interesting day for you. A lot of things to cover. In the first hour today, we'll kind of take it as normal, if you will. I got some interesting information. We'll give away some fun stuff. Hour 2 of 2. That'd be at 10 o'clock. In studio today, a gentleman named Tab Berg is going to come in. If his name sounds familiar to you, he's popping up more and more in the newspaper. He is, and I'll be honest with you, I'm going to actually whip out a piece of clear white paper and start trying to figure out who's who and who's doing what and who represents whom, because I sent out an email a couple weeks ago through the website of the Stop Group, the group who wants to pursue a vote on the financing of an arena downtown. Didn't get any response for the first week. In week 2, I got a response from them saying, we're not interested in any publicity. We're too busy trying to raise signatures, which is kind of a weird reply. Well, wouldn't you want to get your message out? I mean, I know this is not the most popular show, but at least there's 5 people listening, and that would be 4 more than you could sign at one time. But anyway, so then a week after that, I got an email from a consultant, and his name was from Tab Berg, and said, I'd be more than happy to come talk to you about the Stop Group. So he's going to be in studio today at 10 o'clock, and kind of going through some of their issues and some of their thoughts and their motivations, and people have been firing me questions and calls, and we're going to open up the phone lines as well. So if you have a question or comment or you want to text us or something in that hour, you can do that today too. As a reminder, our number is 339-1140, or you can text us at 44-1140. I purposely did not want to bring in Tab and then bring in both sides and turn it into the Rafi Jaffe Jesse Raphael show or something else like that where chairs are throwing. And it is getting a little ugly.
There's a little fire underneath
Yeah,
it.
it's getting, he's cheating and she's cheating and we're cheating and they're lying. And my general rule on politics is, there's dirtbags, scumbags, whores, and cheats. And those are the good ones. I mean, if you're not cheating in politics, you ain't trying. And so some of the back and forth about, they're lying to him and they're lying to her. If you've been around politics, we live in one of the most political cities in the world. I get it. But we'll throw some of those things around. I do have some audio clips that people have sent me, and I found a few on YouTube about different things. So we'll see if we want to bring some of those up. A lot of them are not really radio quality, but we can refer to them, and we'll try to do it all in a fair manner and invite you to jump in if you'd like to do that today too. And that'll be an hour 2 of 2, so that'll be at 10 o'clock. We'll spend a full hour with Tab in the studio. And really appreciate him coming in because that's not an easy position to do, I don't think. So
We're going to find out.
Kind of like being in the mortgage business back in 05, 07. People looking back on you going, what the hell were you thinking? So we'll see how that goes, and looking forward to that. I did have lots of little fun stuff, too. I can assure you, though, right now, I'm going to predict the weather from today through the end of the season. It will not be over 100 degrees from now to the end of the season.
Wow.
I can assure
Where
you.
did this come from?
I can assure you, just like had I washed my car, I can guarantee it would rain tomorrow. I just finished a swimming pool, and therefore I can assure you that it will no longer be hot, probably ever again. In the history of Earth, it will be cooled down, and we'll have the next ice age. We'll probably roll right into my backyard and freeze the pool over. But the aforementioned project is done.
It'll look nice.
And it looks great. I'm sure we won't be in it. But and
That's not why you build pools, is it?
It is not why you build a pool. You build a pool simply like owning a boat, so you can take any available cash you might have had
and just keep putting it in
and burn it. And so you put in the little fire pit ring because it looks so good on paper. And then when you're sitting there, and this is what happens when it goes through my head, I'm sitting there at this fire pit, and I'm realizing I am literally watching my money burn away. And I can't even enjoy the damn fire pit because I'm like, this is costing me. I don't know what
just turn that gas up. Just fire that thing up, let it rip.
I don't have any idea what the cost per minute of burning gas is, but I probably don't want to think about it because I'm sure I burn money faster than that somewhere else. But you're just sitting there, you're thinking, this isn't like if you buy wood, you got to buy wood. But I'm just thinking, this ain't free.
Nothing's free. Come on now.
Nothing's free. And the girl's like, can we heat the pool up? I'm like, hell no, we cannot heat the pool up. Get in there, chip away the block, and get in there. It'll be fine. And the worst part about doing the pool, I don't know, for those of you that don't follow, we did it ourselves. So we subbed it out ourselves because I have a brother-in-law who's very talented and knows a lot of people and did his own, a while ago. So we had the names, and it's, quite frankly, it's not that hard with a little help. If you can be around to kind of monitor what's going on. If you have to get up in the morning and leave your house at 8 o'clock and you get home at 6, and you hope in between those two time frames something got done, no,
bad idea.
You will still be swimming in a mud pit. But if you can be around between my wife and I and my brother-in-law to kind of monitor and keep people on track, it goes fairly easily. And there are little things that pop up, but that's normal. But I mean, I don't know what the markup on pools is, but it's got to be 25%. I mean, so it's a lot. It's a big number. It doesn't matter what size pool you're building,
especially in the middle of summer when you're building it.
Yeah, it wasn't very good planning. You do want to start those things when there's nobody else who's got anything going on. But I mentioned that you get it all done. The county comes out and signs off, says, okay, it's final. And then the plaster guy calls you and says, oh, by the way, don't get in that thing for 2 weeks.
Because it's going to cool down a lot, so we don't want you in there
because
now.
It's still hot out, and we don't want you in there yet. Just keep scrubbing it for 2 weeks so you can get all the dust up and everything else. We don't want any fingerprints or footprints, and we don't want you to heat it, and we don't want you to do it. So now you're just sitting looking at this thing. It's kind of like it reminds me when you used to go furniture shopping when you go buy some furniture. I love this couch. It looks great. Okay, we'll deliver it in 12 weeks.
Right, exactly.
12 weeks? Hell, in 12 weeks I'll change my mind. I want leather. I won't even want this anymore. So it's kind of like that. I know it's interesting, but a fun process nonetheless. What do you got there in your hand? Anything? Nothing.
Just looking at a bunch of paper.
Okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take our first break? What I don't want to do is get behind schedule today because I know our second hour is going to be a little bit of a catch-up. So let's get a quiz question going here. Let's get the phone lines cleared out and get them open at 339-1140. You can text us at 44-1140. The Sacramento River Cats, I looked at their schedule last night. I want to say August is basically the end of their season, and they're gone on the road a lot. So there's not a lot of home games left. So I say this because if I've sent you tickets to the River Cats, just keep in mind that the season does come to an end, and they're good for any home game. So if I send you tickets, you can go to any home game you want. Just walk up to the box office, and they'll give you the best seats they've got. We're going to give out a fair number of tickets today because there's just as many games left. And I got quite a few tickets left today to do that too. So we'll do those today. So on this quiz question that John has, Chris, we'll give out 3 different winners, and we'll give them out three pair of tickets to this. That's all right. 339-1140.
You said 3, but you showed me 4.
I'm not good with numbers. This is 3, and this is 2 to you. So anyway, I was going to say
minus the 1.
I was going to say 3 4-packs, and I decided no, that's too many. So I'll do 3 pair. And you're right, I got stuck in between there. Don't try to do high math on me, okay? You throw me off there. So we'll do 3 pair of tickets to the Sacramento River Cats if you get the answer to this quiz question right. Go ahead, Johnny.
This one might take some thought, but in honor of Jeff's next project, which is going to
bankruptcy or foreclosure, which one?
His next project, the question is how much increase, what is the average increase in cost for a home that is near or on waterfront? So waterfront home is worth how much more
than one that's not on the water?
Yes.
And you laugh, but I tell you, I tore this out this morning. So I'm sitting in my in my house there, the little pop out room where you can kind of sit and look over the yard. And I'm reading this article. I'm thinking, I have this one section of land that's it's just basically dead weeds. I keep spraying it, and it's probably a half acre, out there, the big section. I'm thinking, man, that'd be kind of cool if I dug a big ass pond out there and made a nice pond. And then looking to the left over there where I just buried a big ass pond,
just filled it in,
and I realized that I probably have dementia at this point in time. I probably have lost my entire mind. So the increase are we talking about percentages or dollars?
Percentage.
Okay.
And this is worldwide.
Worldwide?
Yes.
Oh.
Worldwide. There's a lot of water.
So how much more percentage-wise do you get for a house on a waterfront than a landlocked? Just think about Lake Tahoe. You think, okay, the house that's 2 blocks back is X price. If it was on the water, it'd be X times something.
X times a lot more.
So we'll take something close to that with an educated guess. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 44-1140. How much more do you get for the John Fodorero waterfront estate versus the Christopher Laud landlocked flag lot buried into the back of the dumpster in a van down by the river? By the river would add money to the van, so
Absolutely.
you got to factor that in. This is Talkin' Money. We're going to be
right back, Jack.
Talkin' money.
Well, alrighty then. We're back to Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
What do you think about that idea there?
Anytime you get me on, I think.
Okay. So but we'll just go back to some live rejoiners. Chris will just throw on whatever music he likes. And this is Christopher Laud. We're back. We did get a couple winners. We got, we'll leave it out there for at least 1 or 2 more winners. So the question was if you you just got the 3rd winner? Okay. So we got 3. We'll let it go. So the question was if you have a property on a waterfront. So I was thinking just during the break there, so take the Natomas area. You have a house that's in Natomas, what's it worth? If you have a house on Garden Highway on the river, what is the markup for something like that? So there was some areas that were not so high and some that were like 100% markup, right?
Yeah, in Lake Como, Italy, and also Barbados, 100% markup.
For value of the home.
For value of the home.
And what was kind of the low end?
Dubai.
Yeah,
Dubai.
but the prices wasn't that one that had like some enormous price?
Yeah, something ridiculous. But the Hamptons was at 30%.
See, I would have thought that would have been higher.
I thought so too. The interesting thing, really, Lake Como, 100% increase, but it says estimated price for prime luxury waterfront property, $1.8 million, which I find interesting because Phuket, Thailand, the average price would be $5.2 million. And I always thought people go to Thailand because it's less expensive.
Cheaper, yeah. Huh.
But they're off by mere $3 million or so.
Chump change amongst friends.
That's right.
So the answer was what?
63%. So an average of 63% is the cost of a home higher when it's on waterfront.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of people really wait for them. If there's lakes and in different areas, people will sit around. They'll spend years waiting sometimes.
Look at Lake Tahoe.
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
definitely.
It's just you get I mean, you look at some of the houses that are on the lake. What they're asking, like this house is, you know, a piece of junk, but it's the potential. You can't move the lot. You can rebuild the house theoretically up there. Hey, a couple things that came up this week. I want to bring them up to you as well. And one I found that was very interesting. In fact, we should actually send this to all of our clients. In fact, that's not a bad idea. We should copy this, and our clients that are having credit issues or having their credit reports misreported should send a copy of this article in with their letter to have requested. So check this out. A jury in Oregon awarded a woman. She went to court against Equifax Information Services to fix major mistakes on her credit report. She tried for 2 years, 2009 to 2011, 8 different times to get inaccuracies corrected. She was denied credit. She was trying to help her disabled brother get some financing because he didn't have a job, and she was turned down also. And they just awarded her $180,000 in compensatory damages and $18.4 million in punitive damages, for a total of $18.6 million award against Equifax.
Wow.
I'm sure that will be reduced, but nonetheless, that ought to get your attention. In fact, we should route so every client we've got and who's out there trying to get their credit accurately reported, which could be very difficult to do. And some of it's your own fault and some of it's their fault. So I'm not saying it's always the agency's problem. They estimate that 21% of all reports have an error on them. So a quarter of us have something jacked up on our credit report we've got to get fixed. $18.6 million award. So that'll get someone's attention. I hope they have to pay it, to get their, get them up on board to get things corrected. I'll note again, and I think we've probably said it almost every week, because every week it comes up again, that just because you put your house into bankruptcy, your mortgage into bankruptcy, and you quit paying on your house, just because you do that doesn't mean the process is over. And I can't stress that enough. And I hope that the attorneys who are doing this are telling you that it doesn't make it go away. And I had a case just yesterday where the bankruptcy was 2009, discharge early 2010. The house finally went to foreclosure in March.
That's about right.
Of this year. So 3 years later. And here a borrower came in thinking, okay, I know I lost my house to foreclosure. I know you can go FHA after 3 years. I should be about there. It hasn't even been 3 months. It's just been 3 months.
Yeah.
So the borrower had no idea at all, because everything says on the credit report says foreclosure, and then bankruptcy. It's all included in the bankruptcy. It's all 09. It's been discharged. It's all great. Yet you pull up the credit and it says, March of 2013. Foreclosure completed, or something. And there's a late. You're like, and they don't know. So we have to actually go research the addresses and find out when the transfer occurred. So, and all it means is stay involved with your lender and help them get the whole house short sold, or do something so you can expedite the date. Because if you just leave it in their hands, they don't care. They'll get to it when they get to it. There's no skin off their nose.
Yeah, we see that all the time.
So stay active in those bankruptcies. And surprisingly enough, whereas the foreclosure activity has actually picked back up a little bit. Now, not as big as it was a year ago, but it's up about 10% over from May to June. Nearly 1 million homes in foreclosure activity right now, and of a total of about, they figured 4.5 million homes have been sold or been lost to foreclosure, kind of since the meltdown went through. And again, Florida, California, Michigan, Texas, and Georgia, your 5 states, that have almost half of all the foreclosures in them. So we're not done yet. For those of you that are still looking for a house, there's currently 72,000 homes in California that are in the foreclosure process right now. So there's gonna be another little wave of activity. I don't think you're going to see maybe the lenders wait as long anymore, because now they know the market's kind of hot, and if I could get this house back and get it turned around and get back out of it, I can get my money back quicker than sitting on it. But it's interesting. So foreclosure's up a little bit. A year ago there was about 1.4 million, so we're down about 400,000 homes. So It ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. A couple other little notes that came up this weekend. There was a great article in the Sacramento Bee. When was this? July 28th, so last Sunday, on the condos. I'll come back to that in just a second. I got an email this week. You can email me during the week if you'd like, jeff@jefftarbell.com. And someone emailed me and said, hey, should my lender have to pay my per diem costs for going over the close of escrow date? So what they're saying is that somewhere in the contract, the contract called for a 30-day close, or 45, whatever. This is you 30 days, and didn't close on day 30. And there's a per diem penalty in there. It says, hey, if you don't close on day 30, each day thereafter, typically it's going to be like $100. And that's not the end of the world. In fact, a lot of times the seller won't even enforce it if you're a day or two, over it. But some sellers will, and some sellers will try to get rid of you now because they think the market in the last 30 days has increased.
Right.
And they can get more money for their house. You got to be very careful about that. But the answer is should my lender have to pay that cost? That's a good question. You'll note on the contract, there's no place where where the lender has signed the contract. Your lender is not a part of your contract. It's a contract between you and the seller. The brokers have even signed it. And there's requirements in there of you, the buyer, to do certain things. And of course, you want to pass those on to your lender because that's how you're going to get your financing put in place. But keep in mind, nobody's ever consulted with the lender, and it doesn't really matter who it is. Generally, the contract is drafted and they hand it to the lender and say, here, we need a loan. And nobody's ever bothered to say,
and we're closing. Da-da-da.
Yeah, and in order to get John's contract accepted, because Chris is the seller and Chris has got 55 offers there, and we want John's offer to look really good. So I go in there and I say to Chris, the seller, hey, look, I'll bring in John's offer to you. I'll cut down his financing contingency period from the normal 17 days. I'll make it 10. And I'll cut down his normal 30-day close of escrow. I'll make it 21. And I'll bump up the price $5,000. So Chris says, okay, I'll compare all the other offers. Time is critical to me. So yeah, I'll take John's offer. And John walks into his lender and says, here, you got 10 days to get the financing together and 21 days to close. And the lender looks around and says, what in the hell are you doing?
Where were you 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, and you're just now making application. So hopefully maybe you've done the preliminary work and had all of your information in, or at least the majority of it in, and you can try to make that work. And sometimes the lender can make it work, sometimes they can't. But as a general rule, the question was, should my lender pay that per diem fee? I would say probably not. They weren't a part of the contract. They didn't make that deal. And in most cases, they're trying to get things closed as fast as they can. But quite frankly, there's no such thing as a perfect deal. There's always something in there. It's the borrower, it's the property, it's the title, it's the
documentation,
it's the credit. There's some little glitch in there. That happens on every deal. It's a given. But some of those issues can take a little bit of time to get themselves sorted out, and it may have absolutely nothing to do with you as the borrower, your fault, or the lender.
It's just a rule or a guideline that has to be taken care of, and we're seeing that.
I mean, you'll find we found one this week where there was a little abstract lien on a property. Nobody even knew it, and it turns out it was even paid, but nobody could find. They couldn't get the release, and this person was gone, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just stuff happened.
Yeah.
And in general, the sellers right now are being, quite frankly, being a little bit pain in the ass, because they want their money and they want it now. And they're getting lots of offers and they don't want to wait, and so they just they want it. I get it, but sometimes it just isn't realistic.
Right. Things definitely come up, and especially with all the details we're going through now, a lot more of these, just as Jeff just said, they take time to get taken care of, whether it's a day or 5 days. And if you're in a 21-day close, even a 30-day close, that's a week out.
Yeah, I sent a little email a couple weeks ago to a kind of a database of realtors and financial planners that I send information to, and I said, "God, I wish each one of you just for one day could come sit, not at my desk, but in the desk at the underwriter's office, and just to see, the menagerie of different, situations and scenarios and this and that and all the other things have to go on, and you have to try to fit those into, a square peg in a round hole. You got to try to fit them into somewhere that Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or FHA or VA or Chase or Wells or whoever's going to end up buying these loans in bulk. It's something they will accept, and because there's so many little nuances to everything, and there's just so many different scenarios about what ifs and how do you interpret this, and if you don't know by now, and if you haven't done this in a long time, getting financing, the industry right now is in a position where it would rather not make you a loan than do it wrong. I mean, there's I can't be any more blunt than that. It doesn't sound very arm opening, and we love you, and we do love you, but we are wary of everything because the penalty for something so innocuous is missing a date on a verification form or something. It could result in your $300,000 loan coming back to us and having to write a check for a loan we can't get rid of. And so a lender is going to have to maybe pass on making a loan. If someone really wants to put the gun to their head and say, you're going to fund this loan today or we're going to take our business somewhere else, bye. Because we just have got to have everything T'd, crossed, checked, double thumbprint, third kid on your mother's side. I mean, you name it. It's ridiculous. I'm totally agree. And we can't stand having to go through it. But if we don't, we'll be out of business. And I don't mean just we, I mean all of us will be out of business, gone. Because nobody will want to buy the product. And we saw what happened in the past. We didn't document anything.
It didn't go so well either.
You may not even have been breathing anymore. We didn't even care. So I mean, it's come full circle. But that's the long answer to a short question: is should your lender pay? Sometimes they'll offer to do it. I mean, and I've done it before. I said, hey, it's gotten things have gotten real busy, and if it costs you a couple days, we'll cover it. If there's an extension fee, we'll cover it. If it's something that we did it. And that happens. But a lot of times it's just kind of the nature of the beast there a little bit. So great question, and I appreciate the email. That was at jeff@jefftarbell.com. Chris, let's do this. Let's take one more break. I did see this week. Oh, by the way, John, you can probably go ahead and buy one of those waterfront properties you want now.
Okay, great.
It might be something in the Rio Linda Dry Creek bed area, but if you bought your Facebook stock at $38.23 on May 18th, 2012, hopefully you sold midday on Wednesday at $38.31. You made 8 cents a share. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you own 500 billion shares, that's a lot of dough. Now, if you waited until Wednesday afternoon, you still made a little bit of money. Yeah, 36. No, you didn't. You lost $36.80. So you had to sell midday. Yeah. Hopefully you didn't sell on September 4th. It was down to $17. That would have been a good buy day.
I wonder how many shares Warren Buffett has of that.
Why? You think the guy's got a few bucks? I don't know. Do you think Warren's a Facebooker?
He's a pretty smart dude.
Yeah, I heard of him.
You heard of that guy?
Yeah, I heard him.
Yeah. So we're going to lead into our next quiz question. And just because I thought this was just a big number and rather interesting. But Warren Buffett's company is still having a good time. Their profit has increased. It actually increased 46% from last year.
He moved all his assets to the waterfront.
He bought Heinz ketchup. He's done a few things lately, and apparently that's helped him out. But the question is, his profit has jumped 46% to what dollar amount? What is the dollar amount that profit was reported for this year over last year?
From Warren Buffett's company? That could be a tough one.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It's in the billions.
Billions of profits, huh? 339-1140. 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 44-1140. We'll just take it if you're just moderately close to that. Your choice. You want some Sacramento River Cats tickets? I got those. You want to go to a concert? What concert you got up there next, Johnny?
We got Hellwig coming up here. What month are we in?
August. Yep.
August 24th. We got Steve Oliver and Jesse J at Hellwig Winery.
HellwigWinery.com. That's up in Amador. You can go to their concert, Friday night concerts, or is it Saturday night concert? It must be Saturday night, huh?
Saturday night.
Hey, August 24th. Jesse who?
Jesse J.
Jesse J. So if you want to go to a Hellwig concert on a Saturday night, we can get you a pair of tickets to that.
If you just want artesian flatbread pizza, we can get you some of those.
Yeah, your choice. 339-1140. 1-800-920-1140. All of them come with a Talkin Money beer koozie, or drink koozie, I should say. Warren Buffett made how many billions of dollars in profit?
With his 46% jump.
46% jump. This is Talking Money. We're going to be
right back, Jack.
And now, more with Talking Money with Jeff Tarbell.
You got to let the music blend a little better. Try that again. Hold on. Back up. First of all, what song was that? Place it.
That's Houdini by
Okay.
Boss of the People.
All right, start again. And you got to let it build a little bit. This is like radio. You got to get a little drama. Because here we go.
I got to let it build, but I want to get before they start.
Oh, you want to do the
singing.
before? Oh, got you. Okay. All right, let's try again. I wasn't ready.
All right, one more time.
There you go. From the top. 3, 2.
And now, more Talking Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Okay, stop the music for a
What
second.
about the girl's voice there?
Yeah, did someone step on? Did you hear something? For you talk in a normal voice and you're like, well, I'm up here.
That's what it sounds like when I start yelling.
Oh, okay. Well, don't yell.
Okay. All right. So we can do it again.
Give me that like, hey, ladies, I'm about ready to put my sex moves on you. How you doing? This is Chris Verlaud. Back up again. And maybe it's the song that's throwing me. I
think
know.
it's the song.
Is it because he's
See,
like?
this is what happens when you make me choose the music.
I don't get. I'm fine with the music. I just your voice is like up here. This is high. No, we're down. We're down here, baby. How you doing? This is AM radio.
That's exactly what I hear when you start talking.
This is where. Okay, try
right,
one more time, please. I apologize. This is exactly how it is in the studio when you're trying to get something right. So you got to, and nobody's ever happy. If you ever deal with Electric Mike, he is never happy with anything I do. He's a perfectionist. So this is where I picked this up from. So let's try this one more time. Here we go. Here we go. Give me that. Ooh.
And now, more Talking Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Okay, we're gonna go with that for right now.
See, here's the problem. Your old guy is Scott Moak,
Yes.
voice of the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, I know.
You're trying to have me replace Scott Moak,
No, I'm not.
voice of the Sacramento Kings.
I'm not trying to replace anybody. I'm
Giving you a shot.
I'm just mixing it up a little bit, getting a little flavor because
That's like, hey, Matthew McConaughey, we've got Daniel Day-Lewis coming in later, but I think you got a pretty good shot.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good with that. I just when I drive in some mornings, I'm thinking, we should play that song instead, but I don't have any. I don't have it on disc. We got to just throw in some sounds. So you're gonna have to kind of go with whatever we're talking about. What music goes with Foreclosure? I mean, you got to kind of think that through. I'm not really sure what song that would be, but I'm sure it's not. Maybe it is Houdini. I don't know. I could be wrong. So anyway, we'll work on that. That's good. That's a good first try. All right. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. And Chris's voice sounds like a schoolgirl going through puberty. I'm working on that. That's what it says on the 530.
You want to say something mean, but I don't want to do that.
No, you're not going to do that on the radio. This is constructive criticism. I know they want you to succeed, Chris. We did have a quiz question before the break. Mr. Warren Buffett and his lakefront investments. How much did he? And This is how much he made total or over last year?
Well, it's his profit.
Okay.
Well, the percentage was 46% increased profit. Profit pops 46% on his investments. And to what dollar amount was that? And that dollar amount of profit, where were we? $4.5 billion?
Yeah, billion.
$4.5 billion was his profit.
Not a bad start to the year.
So he's doing pretty well, and he's doing a few things. You know, he's throwing some money around, buying some ketchup and things like that. So you can do that with $4.5 billion.
Speaking of profits, the J.P. Morgan Chase and Company made quite a bit of profit on, particularly us in California, the last few years. The alleged manipulations occurred between September 2010 and 2011 in markets that helped set the price of electricity in California. So this came out this week. I thought this was, if I were maybe somebody who had a loan there or some business with J.P. Morgan Chase, I might think about it. I mean, one division of their bank is alleged to have manipulated the power market with strategies to wring excessive payments from the markets out, and they were just fined $200 million in unpaid claims for electricity buyers in California. So a lot of money there against J.P. Morgan Chase. Oh, excuse me, they settled for a total of $410 million fine So when you thought about all those, and I think we even mentioned that a while back, what happened? There was all these power emergencies, and we're going to brown out, and the prices are going crazy. And again, it's a wag the dog. Maybe we didn't have a shortage of supply. Maybe we had some games going on behind the scenes there. So I don't know. We'll see how that shakes out some more. But I guess if you are fined $410 million, maybe you did something wrong there. So I wouldn't want to be on the end of that. I did see some good news. This was John and I were talking about this before the show today, which he looked at me like, you got to better reread that. The Case-Shiller 10 and 20 city composite index come out for house prices in the United States, and home prices in general in those indexes are back to the spring 2004 levels. So that was before the boom, but after the bust. And check this out. What's going on in Dallas and Denver? I've actually been to Denver a couple times now, and it didn't. You don't. I guess it wasn't there long enough. You don't get that impression that things are really booming and popping. But Dallas and Denver have reached record levels, surpassing their pre-financial crisis peaks set in June 2007, and August 2006. So basically, houses are now in those two cities up 7.6% and 9.7% over the last year, but the house prices are now above where they were at the peak.
Yeah, it just amazes me.
In those two cities.
Why?
And I think there was a couple others they were mentioning here also. No, so those were the two that they highlighted there. Everybody else up around the 2004 level. So housing, nationwide, certainly in the bigger cities, coming back and coming back quickly, back to right now the 2004 level, except for those two cities as well.
Yeah, and I'd probably say it's the same reason we're starting to see Sacramento is probably a big overcorrection back then, but why is it higher than the highs?
Yeah, there's another chart in here. They looked at a couple different areas, and this chart's just too darn complex to figure it all out while I'm sitting here on the radio. But there's a little bit of concern that maybe that demand is starting to come down. I posed a little question the other day to some of my realtors and asked them, is it just me, or why am I starting to see? So if you follow along on Facebook where people will post homes for sale in different places, you'll see it, price, reprice, lowered, price lowered. It seems like maybe a little bit Elk Grove seems to be following that trend a little bit. Is this something that's going on? Most of the realtors replied back to me and said, no, I don't think it means a slowdown. We're not seeing that in general, but you haven't seen you start seeing more open houses, which means that, well, a realtor holds an open house for two reasons. One, to sell that particular property, or two, to attract buyers in that property price range so they can meet some people and say, well, this particular house is sold, but could I help you find something similar to it? And for quite a while, a lot of the realtor community didn't want any more buyers. I mean, and I say that kind of tongue in cheek a little bit, but I mean, really, they needed listings, and to have buyers is great, and that usually when you have the buyer, you got the gold. I mean, that's
right.
It's just a matter of finding.
There's nothing to show them.
But yeah, you'd have 15, 20 buyers who are all angry with you, and you didn't do anything wrong, but they're angry because they're like, hey, John, every time you show me a house, there's 50 offers on it, and every time you show me a house, it's gone before we got there, or it's way out of my price range, or it's a complete piece of junk. I mean. And the poor agent's like, I'm showing you what's out there. You got to get out there and compete. So why hold an open house and try to find more Jeff the buyers if hell I can't find Jeff one house? And so it's tough. And then then the buyer gets all frustrated with the agent. Well, that agent doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and I'm going to go somewhere else. And the agent knows exactly what they're doing. The buyer doesn't know what they're doing. The buyer can't compete.
Yeah, and I think in the last 9 months we've seen so many changes. From no inventory to, just craziness. It's just prices going up astronomically to now stalling a little bit. And I think there's a lot of, with the buyers out there too, just not knowing and not being aware, as you were just saying, of what's realistic out there right now.
So the largest, probably got to be the largest homeowner in our area, and probably one of the largest single-family homeowners in the nation, is the Blackstone Group. They own 32,000 homes, $5.5 billion worth of residential real estate right now. Interesting, when you whip open the national newspaper, and right there, big color picture of a house in Roseville. It says one of the Blackstone homes in Roseville, California. Blackstone is going to do something fairly unique, although it's not a unique concept. I thought what they were going to do is flip all these houses. They would just get them in, maybe get them rented and flip them to other investors individually, or wait for the market to pick up a little bit and flip them, and sell them out. And they may still do that. But right now, what they're trying to do is convert the income from 32,000 houses into an income stream into a real estate investment trust or a REIT program. So we're going to start seeing the ability to buy REITs or invest in residential real estate investment income, which has been very common for commercial. We'll now start to see that in the residential world pretty soon too. So if you're renting a house from Blackstone, you may be part of a bigger investment pool you don't even know about. So we'll talk about that some more. And I've got just a great article on some of the pitfalls of condos. That was the Sacramento Bee did a great article on a local Natomas couple who's been having nothing but issues. But we'll come back to that a little bit too. We do have to take a break for the top of the hour. We're going to dedicate hour 2 of 2 today to Sacramento politics.
The arena.
A little bit of pro and I'm not sure if it's accurate to call them anti-arena folks or if they just want to vote. We'll figure all that out. Tab Berg, I think, is either here or coming in. We'll get him in the studio, get the phone lines cleared out, and get the phones open at 339-1140. You can text us at 44-1140. If you're on the good, the bad, the positive, the negative, whatever side you're on of the issue, now's your time. Get your pre-screened call questions all together, write them in your hand, and give us a call. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll throw it out there and see what happens. Or maybe it just throws up on us. I don't know. We'll be right back.
Talking money.
And we're back. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
So, Chris, you weren't going to do it. You weren't going to give it a second attempt, huh?
I gotta do some.
Oh, you're working?
Over here, so
Okay, all right.
definitely on the next one.
Okay, get some practice in there.
He's going to practice up a little bit.
Go home in the shower and just give it a go. How you doing? Welcome back to Talkin' Money. This is Jeff Tarbell, John Ferrero in hour 2 of 2. As promised, this is mic open. I guess we were talking during the break. Yeah, that happens. I don't think we cursed. We probably didn't. We might have. They said the mic was open during the break there, Chris, but I don't know. Maybe they're just reading our signals. In studio with me this morning, Tab Berg. Tab is going to join us, do a little discussion about the arena and all the fun things that are going on downtown. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Good. You can pull that thing a little closer to you there if you want. These are funny. You either have to almost eat them or you have to get away from it. They'll either pick up all you don't want and some of you do. So
This should work well. I'm told I have a face for radio
Yeah,
and a voice for newspaper.
yeah, we all have face for radios in here. That's
right.
That's why this isn't live on TV. So how are you doing? Thanks for coming down on a Saturday.
No problem. I'm happy to be here.
Doing a little rock climbing, you said yesterday?
Yeah, trying to teach my twin 7-year-old girls how to climb a rock.
Oh, I have twin 7-year-old girls. I have twins that aren't 7-year-old anymore, but I teach them how to climb the mall.
They were 7 at one time.
They
though,
were
right?
7, yeah. They're now going to be 16 fairly soon.
You're at the age I'm fearful of. So
Yeah, you should be. You should be. And I have an extra one to spare. I have a third, so I have three daughters. So, but that's fun. Where do you guys like to go? Where do you do that?
we just did a granite arch over there off of 50.
Okay, they're in the indoor.
The indoor, yeah.
Yeah.
Do a little training before you try the real thing.
You're not going to just take her on the half dome right to begin. Come on, girls, you're 7. Get up there. Get up there and hang a little bit. You'll be fine. And if you notice, this is a total off the wall. But you notice the American Ninja show? You guys watch that?
No.
The American Ninja, where they have to go through all the courses. All the rock climbers are killing everybody because they're just kind of that strength to weight ratio. They're just blowing through the course. You see the ex-football guys come out there and they fall in the water like in the first.
On that line, my 10-year-old we were up at Union Valley yesterday hiking up Bassy Falls, and he was the only one pretty much to scale the falls. So, and he's got that from going to rock climbing gyms and that sort. So, shout out to you guys up in Union Valley.
Yeah,
we'll catch you up there in a little bit.
So, Tab, I mentioned during the first hour that I sent an email out, a couple 3 weeks ago through the Stop Group website. And didn't get any reply. And then I got a reply saying, we don't really want to talk about it. We'd rather just get out there and concentrate on getting some names together. And then I got an email from you. So I think maybe the first thing to start with is I've just got a blank piece of paper from here in front of me. I'm trying to figure out who's who and how everybody's involved.
And that's a normal process, especially in politics. It's a lot very, very organic, especially when you're talking about something that's building from the ground up. The Stop Group is the sponsors of an initiative, basically, that says if you're going to use public money to subsidize a sports arena, that the public will have an opportunity to vote on it. A number of different people have expressed some interest in supporting them, and I've kind of put together an organic coalition of people to help support that.
So the Stop Group is basically just local Sacramento people, residents.
Well,
Okay.
and as am I. I mean, I've been in Sacramento since '94.
Okay. So then the Stop Group. So how did they call you? You called them?
No, it's actually I've been involved in the issue for a long time.
Okay.
I think if you check on my website, you'll see there's a feature in 2009. I did an editorial saying, here's some things the city really needs to take a look at from a financial standpoint and a political standpoint if they want to move forward on this without generating a lot of opposition. Some people took exception to me expressing those views, but I think it's really important, especially in an era when things are really difficult financially for cities and for taxpayers, that we take a careful look at it and we move forward in a way that makes a lot of sense and also protects the taxpayers as well as moving projects forward.
Okay. So one of the questions that seems to come up, and I've got lots of little articles here from the News and Review to the Bee to the Orange County to all kinds of different things jumping in here, is one of the questions is are you a paid consultant? Are you a volunteer?
Ooh, I mean, and that again is complicated. I was already involved in the issue pretty much as a volunteer. This is something that I thought was an important issue, and I found it odd that there would be so much pushback just from somebody asking questions. And from that, I did more of a volunteer thing, and many of the editorials I wrote were based on a volunteer thing. After that, I was contacted by a group, Taxpayers for Safer Neighborhoods, who said, "Hey, would you like to be more involved?" And I said, "Sure, yeah. Let me see what time I can kind of put aside." Unfortunately, my contract has never been executed by them, and they haven't paid me. So at this point, I don't know what I would technically qualify as.
Okay, so you'd be a consultant if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what I'm trying to do is build a coalition, and I'm talking to people everywhere about this, from New York to Texas to San Jose. So trying to build a coalition a little bit and then provide the Stop people, who not a lot of people gave a tremendous amount of credit for raising this important issue, but try to help them move from a grassroots community group to more of an effective organization to get this on the ballot.
So Taxpayers for Safer Neighborhoods, who are they?
It's a statewide organization that typically mostly supports candidates who are pro-taxpayer, but also has got involved in some issues where taxpayer issues were on deck.
And are they the group everybody refers to as the Orange County group?
Yeah, though I don't believe they're Orange County. It's a statewide group. Their treasurer is probably based in Orange County, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay. So do they provide funds to you or to Stop, or?
I don't know if they've given money to Stop. I haven't looked there, but Stop, their financial report is online. I mean, you can pull it up at the city website. So that theirs is completely disclosed. I don't know if they have, and TSN has not provided me with any funds.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get so people listening who are like me, who maybe are not following this line by line, can start to get a feel for what the different names and the different groups mean. Is there anybody else that I'm missing? Is there any other player that's involved that I haven't asked you about?
No, I'm sure there's a ton of players involved, and I don't know all the players myself, so that would be pretty, that'd be just conjecture for me to guess. I think the interesting thing to me is that the real issue is sort of gotten sidelined by this distraction issue, and it's been kind of a distraction of the month. The other the folks that are really, really pushing this arena, and I recognize that. I'm I don't know if I should say this here, but I'm a Bronco fan, growing up in Colorado. Sure. And I understand the passion that you feel for your sport, but unfortunately, it's been sort of a distraction of the week. I've been accused of being a front for the Thermites, for the Sith, for Orange County, for Nevada, and the reality is I'm just me. I'm me. I've been here for 15 years, 16 years. I've been involved in this issue since 2006. I've been talking about this issue since 2006, and it's only now that the media is starting to pay attention.
Well, because now it's become it's a possibility, right?
On both ends, it may be going. Certainly the arena is construction is a possibility, and also putting this on the ballot is a reality.
Okay, so let's talk. So for all intents and purposes, do you represent Stop? So
No, I mean, I'm helping them out because, frankly, the media is maybe not something that they're super comfortable with.
Okay.
And I don't, frankly, the abuse that's been heaped upon them, I think, is pretty, when people say, hey, we respect their right to disagree, but then they heap, just enormous amounts of disrespect on them. I want to be a little bit of a shield for that because, I don't mind them trying to abuse me. I get paid to do that in other cases. So.
Okay. So what does Stop want?
I mean, the ballot measure, and actually I brought a copy of the language, I think, is extraordinarily simple. It just says if you're going to use public money, you have to have a public vote. And it's an interesting concept because if you follow this along, years ago we had, back in the 70s, Prop 13, which was designed to protect taxpayers from elected officials using their money without really their permission. Well, the tax users found a way around that. So then we had Prop 218. Well, and then they found another way around that. So we had Prop 60. So it's been a constant battle to ensure that taxpayers ultimately are the ones who are going to pay the bill, so ought to have that final word on whether or not to spend that money. So that's really the crux of the whole thing is if you're going to use public money, you ought to have a public vote. So,
and I get that, and I'm not, and I don't even know that I'm against that. Well, I guess let me back up and say just from just a pure, selfish standpoint, I don't think it's fair, and nothing's fair in life anyway. So I don't think it's fair that the city of Sacramento really has to take the brunt of this deal. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. This is not. I don't look at this as a city of Sacramento facility because there's a bunch of fat guys from Granite Bay with 3 daughters that like to come down and watch concerts and games and do all kinds of things, and we come down to different events, as they do from El Dorado Hills, as they do from Grass Valley, as they do from Stockton. I mean, this is really a regional center. I don't know how you can make our region contribute, and obviously, if someone could figure it out, they would have done that. So
Although I'd reject that as a premise, because there's always some new thing that somebody could try, and I think that actually the Q&R, which was 2006, I believe. I mean, it's been a while, but that was kind of a more regionalized vote, at least county-wide vote, and it was pretty soundly defeated, largely because they didn't really have anything together. The Maloofs were. Maybe it'll be here, maybe it'll be there.
Right.
It was kind of higgly-piggly. And I think what really needed to occur at that point is they should have started at that point doing a very, very broad-based outreach on the benefits of the program. I mean, a lot of people talk about this issue as if, hey, this is an investment. But the reality, and Peter Lund, the former chair of economics at the Sacramento State, did an analysis, and he said if this is an investment, and even if you take these rosy projections, the return on the investment would be 0.69%. Well, I mean, you were talking earlier about Warren Buffett and different money. If your broker was getting you, if your investment broker was getting you 0.69% return, you'd fire him. So this isn't really an investment. But what the other side really needed to do, and the people who want to really push this thing forward ought to be doing, is talking about this as an amenity. This is a community amenity. This is a regional amenity. And here's why it's a good thing. But instead of doing that, they set up a process where the number one objective was to avoid a public vote. And this is widely public. The number two objective was to extract as much money from taxpayers as possible. Well, that's not the way you go about building an amenity. The first is to build a broad range of people that support it, and I think by and large you could have. They could have. Almost every local jurisdiction offered a resolution of support. But then the city never came back to them and said, all right, how can we monetize your support? How can we, let's say, we've done an analysis and we found that 20% of all of our people come from Fair Oaks, Granite Bay, and
El Dorado
Hills.
Right.
How do we monetize then your support in a way since this is an amenity that we're all sharing? They failed to do that. And instead it's this rushed thing. And it seems like every time, this is like the hurry up and wait kind of process where we've had this every time anything comes up, it's like a mad rush to get it together. And then when something goes wrong, just everybody falls back. And instead of a sustained effort to educate the public about why this kind of amenity is valuable and building a larger coalition, it's just been an attempt to evade voters. And alienating voters along the way is not the way to build credibility for either an election if this comes to it, or to build confidence in the bond community, frankly. I mean, if the bond community back in New York is looking at this and they're saying, wow, there seems to be a lot of angst about this. Maybe this isn't so stable, because the bottom line is, and the city treasurer has made this pretty clear, The city general fund is ultimately responsible for underwriting this, no matter what. If the parking falls short, if TOT falls short, it eventually falls to the general fund. So building a broader base of support from the community rather than alienating them, telling them they're not smart enough to understand it, or the mad rush without disclosure. I mean, even the Bee, who's very supportive of this project, said the transparency on this is non-existent. So I think I would start off from a premises that we should have had we've had years to do this, started off with a broader effort to reach out to the community and say, here's what this is. It's really an amenity. It's not an investment, because you can't have those kind of returns and call it an investment. And here's why you ought to be involved. And then get the community leaders to monetize that support to build something that really is supported by the community as opposed to being imposed on the community.
Okay, that's a good first starting point. That's a good place for us to take a quick break, too, and we'll get some phone lines going here if you want to jump in, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 44-1140, and we'll get some calls and questions in. We've got some other things that are coming through. I'll try to read through some of these at the break and come back, and we're with Tab Berg, who is assisting the Stop Group in trying to get the arena on the ballot. This is Talkin' Money. My name is Jeff Tarbell. It's John Fodorelli. You want to do a quiz question there, Johnny?
Yeah, let's throw out there real quick.
Okay.
So UBS did a survey. 70% of investors with more than $1 million in investable assets, how much did they feel that they needed to be considered wealthy?
So they already had over $1 million in investable assets, but what was the level they considered to be wealthy?
Yeah. What was the dollar amount that they thought, okay, I feel wealthy? $1
$1
million wasn't doing it.
Okay, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 44-1140. This is Talkin' Money. We're going to be right back.
And now, it's time for Talkin' Money. Here's Jeff Tarbell.
He's got to work on the Tarbell side. I like the lead in, though.
Yeah, it's good. The musings of Christopher Laud there. How you doing? Welcome back. This is Talkin' Money. Jeff Tarbell, John Fodorelli. In studio, Tab Berg has joined us. If you're just tuning in now, we started at 9 o'clock. What the hell you been doing? We've been here for an hour and 20 minutes. Waiting for you. So we are, hour 2 of 2 today is solely dedicated to the controversy or the issue around financing of a public arena in downtown Sacramento. Tab's come in and joined us after my invitation to the Stop Group. We did get John had a quiz question there, and I saw a couple answers on the text line there. How much money do you have to be to feel wealthy? And maybe would you write a check to the city of Sacramento?
You need about $5 million just to feel good in your shoulders, kind of dance a little bit. $5 million.
$5 million just get you by.
That's right.
That's barely. I mean, Warren Buffett will lose that in his spare pocket tomorrow. So $5 million is the correct answer. And appreciate you guys checking on that. We'll get you guys out some River Cats tickets if you want to do that. So a couple questions came to mind. Tab was talking about the desire to get a public vote on arena on the involvement in an arena. And one of the things that came to me during the week, Tab, was so we're talking between the break about you put a big group together and they generally will come together with the right answer. And maybe some people don't know this, but I'm the chairman of the board of our corporation. I have 11 partners, and so it takes an incredible amount of effort for 11 of us to make a decision, let alone a whole city. And generally, you're right. I mean, someone will be over here, someone will be over here, and generally we end up with kind of the right answer. Our answer may not be the one I thought going in, but we generally will tend to get to the right point. But in some aspects, we hire a board to run our day-to-day business and to do the major type of things. And so I guess part of me says, hey, look, at the city of Sacramento voted in a council and a mayor. And when you do that, you generally will allow them to make business decisions for you. And one of the things that came to me this week was, okay, I've never heard of the Stop Group before this. And yet we spent $1.5 billion on an airport. We spent considerable amount of money on the Crocker Museum. We just spent $15 million on a senior care facility on Martin Luther King Boulevard. There's a $200 million water infrastructure project needs to be done. So, I mean, I guess part of me says, hey, if you're against public spending, where were you on the airport, and where were you on the water infrastructure, and where were you on the old folks' home, and I mean, if you're gonna
Yeah, and I should make that clear as one is I'm not opposed to public spending at all, and I'm certainly not opposed even to a public-private partnership. We should make some clarification on the water infrastructure. That was actually voted by the public in a bond. The airport is paid 100% by the people who fly and the businesses that are there. So the equivalent would be if the arena were built solely by the team and by a ticket surcharge.
Yeah, but
that would be the equivalent.
But that's not exactly true. I mean, what happens if we all stop flying? Who pays the bill?
The bond is underwritten, I believe, actually. I would have to check on that. I'm not 100% sure on how that would happen. If everybody stopped flying, yeah, the bond, the infrastructure costs would have to go somewhere. I'm not 100% sure where.
Yeah, and I guess that some of the frustration, and I promise if you're on hold, I'll get to a few of you because you've been waiting, and we will certainly do that. Good, bad, or indifferent, wherever you fall. I can't even tell. So we're going to hit a button and go. But part of me says that look. The city of Sacramento. The argument that I reject is that if you wouldn't commit money to the arena, then we could have much better schools, or we wouldn't have to lay off the fire department. And some of these things, and these are diversions also, because the city needs revenue, and the only thing that pays for a new fire department and a new school and everything is either people to come down there and live, so that they get more students in the school, they get paid by the state. Or they need revenue. They either need tax revenue, sales tax revenue, property tax revenue. They need some of those things. Now, how are you going to get my fat ass out of Granite Bay and into downtown Sacramento? Because I can guarantee you that I ain't going to that mall if it was on fire. I'm not even going to go down there and watch it. So you've got to draw people down there. And you look around, and I'll give you some examples, and you can jump in where they're right or wrong. I'll give you some examples that I'm aware of intimately with. Gaslamp District, San Diego. When I was in college, we used to water ski down there, and they told us point blank, Jeff, do not be caught dead, or you will be caught dead there the minute the sun sets in the Gaslamp District. Now, Petco Park went in, and there's some dispute whether that was a good financial move or not. That entire area is office buildings, restaurants, life. You could say the same thing for AT&T Park. That area was not so great. And there are other examples of areas, the LA Live area of Los Angeles, and I'm not from Los Angeles. People tell me you wouldn't be caught dead down there, and now you got Staples and other things too. So when you say we're going to get a return on our investment on the building, that's one thing, and maybe you're only getting a .069 return on the building, but you can't tell me that the rebound effect from real estate values and tax benefits and other things, people coming down there, and just the draw.
Yeah, and I think that because the way politics oftentimes works, everybody thinks you have to be 100% this or 100% that. And I don't think, at least none of the people that I've talked to say, hey, there's no value to it at all. But you do have to, at some point, when you're talking about very limited public dollars, that it has to make some sense. And I think what would have probably made a lot more sense is if the mayor would have started from the premises, I'm going to get the best deal for Sacramento, for the taxpayers of Sacramento, not I'm going to get as much money from the taxpayers and then the owners can come in on top. And I think that the details of the financing are troubling to a lot of people. The combined money where they talk about, okay, the owners are going to put in $190 million. That's a significant private investment. Well, it is kind of, but then you have to look that they're getting 3,700 parking spaces as a gift. And these, by the Stanford's chief economist did an analysis and said these are actually the 3,700 most valuable parking spaces in relation to this arena if it's built. And the city is assigning no value. So take the 190 million, although the Stanford economist says they're worth a significant amount of money, you got to take that away. They're getting $38 million worth of unappraised. And as a realtor, someone in the realty, I would think that you would probably agree that not appraising the value of a property before giving it away might not be the best idea. So you got to take the parking, the property tax, the $600,000 a year revenue generated from the billboards that are being gifted, and you have to take the ticket surcharge off because the owners aren't paying the ticket surcharge, the users are. So that shouldn't be counted as part of the $190 million, and yet it is on the term sheet. So the 190 is a bit of an exact, and I think what we're talking about for a lot of people is, look, we need to have clarity. If you're going to talk about public dollars, if you want to say, hey, let's invest in this amenity, then let's at least be upfront with the public on how we're using their money and who's going to be paying which portions of that.
The problem is that as someone who deals with numbers all day long, every day of the week, people are busy and they are easily distracted, and numbers can be. I can give you a number that makes you sound like a genius, or makes it sound like I can make a number sound however I want. And if I'm going to try to explain, hell, I can barely explain to some people how the loan amortizes on a $100,000 loan. Now I'm going to try to explain to them a $448,000 funding package isn't going to fly. And I think that this is where the trouble comes, is that, people have been forwarding me, YouTubes and clips, and we've got people out there signing people up saying it's all out of the general fund. I mean, people just don't, even the people who are supposed to be getting signatures don't even know what they're getting signatures for. And I get it. I mean, people, you pay them to go out and get some signatures, and whatever comes off the top of their head will come off the top of their head. And I don't know that they're lying or they just miseducated. I don't even know that it matters, because if in politics, if you ain't lying, you ain't trying. And that's just how it goes. But I find it nearly impossible to get John Q. Public and Jane Q. Public to understand what in the hell we are doing. I do find it possible that the city attorney and people who are in those positions whose job is to sit there and look over the project, understand it, figure out how to make it work, and put the city's best interest. I mean, that in itself is difficult enough.
And had they approached it more from that aspect, I think there's always going to be somebody against something. I mean, that's just the nature of how things work. But that's not actually how we approached this thing. I mean, the actual term sheet only got 3 days of public review before it was voted on. I don't believe for a minute that any of the council members fully grasped all of the intricacies of that. There was no third-party separate analysis that was done. I mean, when you brought up the water infrastructure project, the $200 million from that. One of the local watchdog groups, Ion Sacramento, urged the city right away, said, hey, so if you're going to put out this bond, which is an industrial revenue bond, which pays a little higher interest, or costs a little higher interest, you have to have a third-party validator to come in and do an analysis of what your needs and solutions are. And the city kind of balked on that until bond council absolutely demanded it. And I think what the city's not really getting is at some point they're going to be required by bond, either the purchasers or somebody in New York is going to say, you're going to have to do an independent analysis that shows how these revenue streams work.
Sure.
And the time to do that isn't when you're spending the money, it's before you spend the money. So, I mean, there's a deep concern about that, look, we've moved forward with the project. And even with all of that, the principle of the voters having the opportunity, and if it comes together as a package, if this makes the ballot, the city's going to have to put it on the ballot anyway. And they're going to have to make a cogent description of here's what the costs are to the public, and then you get to vote on it and decide if this is a good investment for your city dollars or not.
Yeah, I guess and we got to take one more break, and then I'm going to do all calls for the second half of the hour, I promise. My only comment is that there had to have been 30 public hearings down there on different things about the arena. So to say that they're trying to do it behind closed doors, I'm not sure is entirely accurate. And certainly, as each meeting goes, this develops and develops and develops. And when you finally get down to a term sheet, at some point in time, you have to cut it off and say, okay, look, this is what we're going to go with. So I don't think there's anybody in the city of Sacramento that could say, boy, I didn't have an opportunity to go down and either open my mouth or open my ears and talk about what's going on. So I don't know.
To the specifics of the deal, absolutely, that was the case. I mean, the term sheet had 3 days of public review. I mean, that's indisputable. That's when they held the 3 large public meetings on the deal, 2 of the meetings were held prior to the release of the documents. So it made it very difficult, and even those people that are deeply involved in policy said, look, I only had a few days to put together some information to go down to the city council. And most of the testimony that was taken during the council meeting was, just sort of rah-rah, hey, we saved the Kings. Well, it's great that we saved the Kings, but we have to still be careful with public dollars, and it does deserve a careful examination of how that's done, and the public does still reserve the right to approve public debt.
I would say we passed Obamacare before we even knew what was in the bill.
Well,
there you go.
Don't get me on that.
No, I know. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go all phone calls. So if you want to get in, you can get in at 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. If you want to text me, you can text me at 44-1140. And what do you want to do?
Let's do a little quiz here,
Okay.
Change up the scene a little bit. So Olga Dogaru out of Romania, what she claims she didn't do to protect her son?
That was my old girlfriend from high school. Don't be bringing Olga down.
Olga Dogaru from Romania. What does she claim she did not do in order to protect her son?
339-1140 if you want to jump in on that, or you might be easier to text us on that one at 44-1140. This is Talkin' Money. Tab Bergen studio with John Fodorero. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right
back, Jack.
And now, it's more Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Getting better, I think. 339-1140 if you want to jump in. Actually, all our phone lines are lit up here. So this is what we're going to do. We've got about 17, 18 minutes before the end of the show. I'm going to shut up. We're going to take your calls. Please, we'll just give us your thoughts and your statement, and then what I'll do is we'll let Tab respond, and I'll move on to the next one. We'll keep rolling off the text line. People have been texting in at 44-1140. The Maloofs just sold the Kings this year. Hack and Tab say we've had years to do this. The new ownership group is making this happen with the new location. If Stop wants us to vote anytime public money is used, what is the point of having a city council? If this was a vote on a library, Stop would be all for it. It's just because it's for sports. You elected officials to decide what's best for our city. If they decide spending the money is better for our community, our economy, we should let them go with that. Okay, so there's some of the text.
You want me to try to bat take a swing at a couple of those?
Whatever you want to do. Why don't we get a couple phone people who have been here for a long, long time. Let's just let a few people jump in here. Let's go to William, who's our longest on the board there. William, welcome to Talkin' Money. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for calling, and go ahead.
Okay. One of the big things is that the city has spent, I don't know how much money, because they don't tell us exactly how much money they've spent on the stuff that they're doing prior to building the arena. So what I'd like to know is how do we get some information about what the city is doing relative to the amount of money they're spending?
Are you talking on this particular project or in general?
No, on this particular.
Or on this particular. Okay, there's Williams. Okay, William, we'll let you listen online there to do that one.
I think, regardless of whatever issue, you do have an opportunity, and thankfully the legislature protected this right of citizens. You can file a Freedom of Information Act request. The city has 10 days with which to reply. Now, cities throughout California don't always really want to provide this information, so sometimes they're slow or delayed. And I believe that and again, I'm separate from Stop, so I can't answer every question about how they feel about stuff. But I believe they have filed Freedom of Information requests, and in fact are litigating that now because some of the information the city has either not provided in a timely manner or is not going to be providing.
Off the text line at 44-1140. You mentioned a ticket surcharge for flying and how that's going to pay for the bill, and yet a ticket surcharge for the Kings is not as good. So there's some thought there. Maybe you're.
Well, no. I mean, if you look at, for instance, if you look at the arena that's being built in Edmonton, and granted it's Canadian dollars, so maybe we don't really count those, but they're collecting over $125 million, not $3 million. So I mean, there is a substantially larger thing. And if you look at any of your plane tickets, you'll see that a significantly larger component or percentage of your ticket is for that. And you can see that actually in the Ontario airport, which was built. So, and the other part of that that's paid for is by the airlines, by their landing fees and tipping fees and all kinds of different fees that airlines pay, which they negotiated with because they're the businesses that are there. They said, we want a better facility. We're willing to pay for that better facility. And then the ticket surcharge is what made up the difference.
So on the parking component of it, they're giving up the parking spots for the evenings during those events. Is that what you're referring to? They're not getting the parking revenue during the day during business parking.
Correct. Well,
so if I don't drive down to if I don't drive down to an event, there is no revenue you're giving up. I mean, so what you're saying is, okay, we're going to give you, the owners, the parking revenue for these 3,700 spots during the concerts and the games. But if there is no concerts and games, there's no income.
Well, because whether people park for a game or to go shopping or to go to work, because people don't only work 9 to 5, there is no specific detail on how limited that I can find anyway on what the limits are in terms of their control of those parking spaces. The Ion Sacramento did analysis, which they had done by a Stanford University professor, seemed to indicate that they were getting that revenue the whole time.
But now we're gonna pinpoint 18,000 people for 150 nights a year right down there, and so
there's no question there's going to be some benefit, but there's
going to be a hell of a lot of benefit.
First,
I'm going to eat down there, I'm going to park down there, I mean, I'm going to do all the things that I don't do. You guys are not getting my money now.
Because you're coming down from out of the city.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, although, and there is an impact, and I'm certainly not saying, and I don't believe anybody else is saying, that there isn't any value. You have to, if you're going to monetize that value, then it has to make some sense. And there have been more than 200 studies done on publicly subsidized arenas, and only 2 have had anything beyond a negligible effect, and whatever economists choose to use as negligible. One was Indianapolis, which had a net positive, and one was Baltimore, which had a net negative. So the idea that it's going to—
You're talking about financial impact?
Correct, a total economic activity, and they measure the totality of economic activity based upon the public subsidy.
Oh, I don't know how they're doing the math, because I mean, you cannot tell me that AT&T Park doesn't draw, a number enormous.
Well, AT&T Park was completely privately financed, so that was not included in any of the studies.
Okay, gotcha. Let's keep going on here. Let's go to James. James, welcome to Talkin' Money. How you doing?
Hey, thank you for having me, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Let me just say, I'm a lifetime city resident. I'm 46. I live in the city now. I am a member of the Grassroots Crown Downtown, so I do take issue with a couple of things that Tab has said. Going back to your last caller, you can actually go on the city website, and it'll tell you the city has expended about $6.5 million, and that was allocated in March. Part of that money is going to people to represent the city's interests. It's going to Walker Parking. It's going to Barrett Sports and Entertainment. It's going to attorneys to make sure that the city gets that third-party review and somebody's looking out for the city's interest. Now, Tab had mentioned that KJ maybe had not gotten the best deal. Dennis Howard, he's a finance expert at the University of Oregon, said the city's proposed contribution of 58% of the total is slightly lower than the NBA average of the NBA arenas built over the past 8 years. You want to look at the economic impact of some of these cities. You look at Indianapolis, you look at Charlotte, you look at Orlando, you look at Phoenix. These cities have seen economic growth around their areas. You look at Columbus. That's the economic growth. Dr. Sanjay Varshney, I'm just going to say this, and then I'm going to put out a question to Tab. Dr. Sanjay Varshney, who's the Dean of College of Business at the CSU, has said there's nothing but positive that this arena would bring in the form of job growth. So my question to Tab is this. He calls his movement an organic movement, but he admittedly states that he doesn't know where his money is coming from in Orange County or the rest of the country. How can you call it an organic movement when on the proponent of the arena side, we have business, we have labor, we have grassroots united behind this arena? On the other side, we have STOP, which is Mr. Camacho, and it's also Mr. Cathcart, Delphine Cathcart, and some people. And then Mr. Berg claims that he's not a part of STOP. Okay, I'll go ahead and grant him that much. But he has taken $2,500 from STOP, and that's in STOP's campaign disclosures. How can he call his movement an organic movement? He hasn't taken money yet from the Orange County group. My question to you, Mr. Berg, is will you at some point take payment from them?
Okay, well, let me go through a number of these first. The 58% that he estimates that they're saying is Sacramento's public portion of that is pretty much in question. Even the Bees economist, and they used the business forecasting office down at UOP, estimated that it's not 240, it's more like 290. Ion Sacramento did an independent analysis using Stanford University economics professor, looking at this deal in particular, and said it was more like 348. So the reality is it's not a 58% public deal. It's more like a 60, 70, or maybe even 80% public deal. In terms of the jobs thing, absolutely nobody denies that building something is going to create some jobs. Those are temporary jobs. The 4,000 jobs that are claimed by the proponent group is pretty over-exaggerated. Even the city site says it's probably closer to 2,300 to 4,000 at the most. So, that whether that is done representative of a good investment or not, that's something I think voters ought to get an opportunity. The 2,500 and there were so many things he threw out there. I'm trying to make sure I got a couple of them written down here. The $2,500, I do a subscription service to polling surveys, and they wanted to survey on this arena deal. Anybody could have done it. I offered the proponents an opportunity to be on there. In fact, I had them write the question, the proponents of the arena. So, I mean, that's regardless, like if somebody subscribed to my magazine saying that I'm a member of their organization. And in terms of organic, yeah, it's organic because it's growing and changing over time. And will I ever take money from TSN? They've never even signed my contract, so I'm assuming I'm never going to get paid by them.
Okay, let's go to Jim. Jim, welcome to Talkin' Money. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm a city resident in District 5 for the last 35 years. And my understanding is that the city has built 2 arenas before without public subsidies. And so I'm wondering why we're being asked, us taxpayers, to subsidize a new arena when, as I also understand and read, the Kings owners turned down some private funding source. So if I'll take my answer off the air, and then I want to endorse that. I was at a hearing. There were so many people, they cut it off eventually, and it was before information came out. Since I've looked at it, but in this particular case, I really do think the people deserve a vote. So I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you.
All right, Jim, thank you.
Some of that I don't think I can answer in terms of the 2 arenas that were previously built. I mean, I know that ARCO was built privately funded. I don't know the earlier one.
ARCO 1. It was an office building. I think someone threw some spare change on the ground. That one came out of the ground. So.
Yeah, the reality is, I mean, as the NBA has grown, I mean, they do demand, and this, I think the larger and larger scales of arenas over time has largely been, the NBA kind of directing that. And I don't think there's any way really around that a bigger facility has to be put together.
Off the text line at 441140, tab, no one goes downtown at Sacramento at night. From the 916 Sacramento.
I would first disagree with that because I'm a season subscriber to the Broadway series and to the Music Circus. I'm downtown at night all the time.
Sacramento would be dead without the Kings. I just spent $10,000 on season tickets. So from the 916.
Well, I would say that too. I mean, one, there is nothing in here that says that the Kings would leave, and I absolutely do not believe that this collection of people who have really invested some significant amount of money in purchasing the Kings would suddenly bail if there was going to be a public vote. I think what would happen if there's a public vote is the city would have to come up with much clearer financing, that the deal would make a lot more sense. And perhaps the taxpayers would get a better deal, but there is nothing in there that says, I don't want the Kings to leave. I used to listen to them on my cell phone when I was traveling. I mean, I loved the Kings.
Yeah,
less so since C-Webb left. But
I think if it went to a public vote, it gets convoluted, maybe gets drugged down the road. The NBA gets frustrated, and the owners just say, let's just find an easier deal. So I don't know.
I can't speak for the NBA on that.
Let's get a couple more here real quick. Jay in the Midtown. Jay, how you doing?
Good. Hey, Jeff, thanks for countering some of the arguments that Tab's making here, because I think that we all know that the anti-tax people are notorious for lowballing financial figures. The 2 things that I want to say real quick is Tab mentioned something about rah-rah city council meetings. Well, the last one before the vote was about 100 local businesses, including the Broadway series Music Circus people, standing up strongly supporting the arena, as well as the Chamber of Commerce and the local union guys. And I think that speaks volumes. The one other thing I want to say is I've lived in Midtown for almost 20 years now, and I have not been to the downtown plaza in over 10 years. As far as I'm concerned, they can nuke that whole place, and I cannot wait for the new arena to be there. Thank you very much, Jeff. You're doing a great job.
All right, Jay.
Well, I would definitely not endorse nuclear strikes against any facilities in Sacramento.
We've got a consensus. We're not going to nuke anything. And what I did find,
we can find agreement.
Yeah, what I did find fascinating because I felt it in myself as a business person was the minute they settled on a location. I immediately started thinking and asking my wife, God, I wish I was in the restaurant business, because I'd like to, put a Tommy Bahama's restaurant, right outside the front door, or a Margaritaville right inside, all these things. And you look at the guys from the city of the downtown council, they're like, we've taken 35 phone calls from people around the country today. Give me all your available real estate within the side of the front door of the new arena. Let me know where you're at. So, I mean, it is a magnet, and it does draw tremendous opportunity down there. And, so anyway, that's my comment.
No, and I don't think, again, I mean, I've tried to make this pretty clear. I mean, I don't think anyone is against building the facility. The city held an open competition and came up with a different facility location, and I don't know how that change, impacted the dollar costs. But I would be concerned about the fact that when they had the open competition, the city said there was $108 million worth of infrastructure that needed to be done separate from the arena in order to make that facility work, that location work. But in the current iteration, they're saying there is no infrastructure impact. So where is that $108 million? Did it suddenly fix itself? So I think, to make it, maybe abundantly clear, I support the concept of building an arena. I believe the public should have some opportunity to invest in that. I think, though, if they are going to be asked, they should be asked to vote. And I think you have to make sure that the numbers are all very clear and that the financing is such that it's going to be a good deal for the city, the taxpayers, and the residents.
Got a couple phone lines open if you want to jump in. We've got a few minutes left. 339-1140 is our number here, 1-800-920-1140. Let's get to Steve. Steve's been on hold for a long time. Steve, welcome to Talkin' Money. How you doing?
Thank you, Jeff. Love your show. Love Sports 1140. Big Kings fan. Always an honor to be on here. But, I'm a Kings fan, but to me this deal is very simple. It sounds like that they can't build this thing without public money. Why can't, there's this guy that spends $10,000 on season tickets, and there's probably others too. Don't they have the money to pay for this thing on their own? And what about in these developers? You're talking about Tommy Bahama. Why don't they put some money in? I mean, this is not a complicated deal, as Josh says. This is simple. Why can't they pay for this themselves? Why does the taxpayer have to pay for this? I think we should vote on it. I think the council has been corrupted. They're getting free seats out of this deal. Let's vote on it.
Well, I do think a lot of people have a concern about the
Steve,
city getting a luxury box and for use for city things, but that does have an opportunity for the city to utilize it as an economic development engine. Sure. I do think it is pretty interesting that the new owner of the Kings, who is a minority owner, 30% owner, I believe, of the Golden State Warriors, was able to build in the process of building a superb facility, totally privately financed.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can compare San Francisco and Sacramento, but that's a good point. We got maybe how are we doing on time, Chris? You got another minute? We're okay. We're down to 60. We're down to 60 seconds. I apologize, Ed, and everybody else who's on hold there. We're not going to have enough time to be fair to everybody. So, if you want more information on the Stop Group, they have a website. You can check them out. And I think, is it stop.org? What is it?
I think if you do a Google search,
just Google it. Yeah, that's how I found it. Tab Berg came in today on a Saturday on his own time, and I know the guys and the sports guys would love to talk to you during the week.
I mean, that's something I've never gotten an invitation, so I don't know. I mean, I've heard that somewhere on Twitter. I would say that there's something that's kind of nettled me a bit. I guess one of the radio hosts referred to Julian Camacho, who's a U.S. veteran, a combat veteran, as a coward. And I think that's a pretty inappropriate way to try to enter into a debate. I mean, I think if you want to enter into a reasonable debate, it ought to be done in an adult manner.
Okay. I'll give Carmichael Dave your card. I know he wants to talk to you. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and joining us and for your calls and questions. We'll see you next Saturday, everybody. Be cool. Aloha.
Talking money.